Hey, podcast people, welcome back to another episode of Unashamed Podcast. I wish we would have put the Unashamed Podcast, but now it's just like Unashamed Podcast, which doesn't always make sense.
We should because then we could call it like the Ohio State University. It'd be like
and make sure
Unashamed
people
Podcast.
be like really pretentious about people putting the in it.
Yep. Great.
Anyways, we are back. We have our last special guest has joined us again, Holli.
Hello, friends.
Hello.
It's nice to be back.
I'm gonna act like we just got on a call and we haven't been talking for 20 minutes.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Hello, Holli.
Hi, this is the first time I have talked to you this morning.
It's so nice to hear your voice.
It is so nice to be here. I am so glad I'm talking to my favorite brother.
Wow, that means a lot. Anyways, we are talking today about hitting the spiritual reset button. We're gonna talk about kind of what COVID has taught us, the big Rona, what
the Rona.
What quarantine has kind of taught each of us, and especially spiritually, and how we can kind of hit the reset button as we're going back into the swing of things, the normalcy, whatever the new normal is, how we can better do that in a spiritual way and in a healthy way. So I'm going to ask Holli first, what did you learn in COVID? I feel like a dad when their daughter comes home from school and I'm like, what did you learn today? What did you learn from COVID?
Thanks, Dad.
You're welcome.
Oh boy. Guys, COVID was not fun. I don't think anyone was enjoying COVID, especially me, because my life kind of got thrown upside down in a lot of ways. Gosh. So, wow. Yep. Okay. COVID was like, so for those of you who don't know me, I lived in South Africa for a while. And then I got on a plane in January to come back to the States for a sabbatical, we'll call it that. And I was a month after I got back to the States is when everything shut down. Mm-hmm. And I remember sitting in my aunt's living room watching the live stream of the South African president announce that they were shutting the borders down. I remember that moment and my heart dropped through the floor, because in that moment was when my plans were completely flipped upside down. But also in that moment was when God's plans completely took over. And because I'm very much of a control freak. If you don't know me, I don't like not being in control of situations, and this is the Rona is one of those things where I'm
Rona.
Well, yeah, I'm not in control of this. And so I think it was funny that my life had been going 1,000 miles per hour, and I'm really positive that the Lord was all right, well, I'm taking you out of South Africa. I'm taking you out of this place that you are comfortable, and this is your life right now. I'm putting you here, and now I'm going to give you this pandemic so that you are forced to sit and listen to me because you don't want to listen any other times of your life. And so now I'm closing all the doors and all the windows and all of the ways you can escape.
All the windows.
And you're going to sit here and you're going to listen and you're going to be still and you're going to like it. And I feel like the Lord has really taught me just what it means. I'm not good at sitting still. I can't sit in one spot for a while. Zach knows that of all people. I'm a very restless human. I can't sit still. And so I think over the course of Corona, the Lord was all right, well, you're going to learn to be still. And even if you can't sit still, you're going to learn to be still in my presence and listen to my voice. And this is what you're going to do. And so that's kind of what happened. And then over the course of a few months, I was really just praying into everything and really getting my relationship with the Lord back on track, and just learning so much. And it was really good to get a fresh perspective and a new environment, just because I had not been in the States for so long. And so the Lord was like, you know, your time in Africa is over now. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that that was the answer, but I knew that that's what God was saying. And so I had to wrestle with that, kind of like how I feel like I was wrestling with the Lord for a while, like how Jacob was wrestling with the Lord. And I remember Emma used this analogy once, is like Jacob wrestled with the Lord and came away as Israel. He didn't come away as the same person. Like, he came away as a whole new person. And I feel like that's kind of how I felt. Like, I was wrestling with the Lord for a long time. But then I ended up coming away as a whole new person, and I wasn't staying the same, which is what your relationship with the Lord is supposed to look like. And so he told me, he was like, listen, child of mine, you're going to sit here and listen, and you're not going back to Africa, and you're going to stay here, and you're going to get a full-time job, and you're going to do this and this and this. And like, he basically laid out all of these things for me and just kind of placed them all in my lap. And I truly believe that the reason he did that is because I was forced to sit and be still and learn to listen. Because I think a lot of times we don't hear the Lord's voice because we're not listening for it. Even though we say that we are, I like really believe that a lot of us will sit here, because there's a lot of times where I'll be in conversation with people and they're like, well, have you prayed about it? Like, what is the Lord saying about it? And a lot of times I'm like, well, yeah, I prayed about it, but I don't know what he's saying. And I don't think it's the fact that I don't know what he's saying. I think it's that I'm not listening. And so I think coronavirus has really taught me all of these things. Not the virus itself, but, you know, the
situation.
The situation of having to just sit and listen has really taught me how to have like a good posture of receiving. One of my favorite pastors / preachers, Christy McClellan, uses an analogy. And if you know anything about American football, she always talks about how in order to like listen for the Lord and just really hear his voice, like, you need to put yourself in a posture of a punt returner. And what she means by that is like a punt returner is at the other end of the field, and there's going to be a punter that's going to kick the ball, and the returner is going to have to be there and catch it. And he's not, and the punt returner is not just standing there, like, just looking off into the distance or not paying attention, or like, he's in like the ready position, waiting and looking up for the ball to come and waiting to catch it and waiting because he knows it's coming. And she uses that analogy, saying that we need to do the same thing with the Lord and be in a posture of a punt returner, because you know he's going to want to talk to you. You know it's coming, and you need to be ready for it and in a position to accept it. And I think that is a big thing that I have learned over this course of however many months we've been in this now.
No one knows at this point.
I don't even know what day it is. Honestly, I have no idea what's going on. And so I just think that there's been a lot of things that the Lord has taught me, and what I've already said is the majority of it. But I think the last thing, though, that I want to say is, Zach, do you remember, I say this all the time now, and it's my favorite thing, but do you remember when we were in Margate and I prayed for that whale and then the whale came? Do you remember when that happened?
Jesus provides again.
Yeah, so
yes,
now,
I do remember that.
that was like a pivotal moment of which is weird for people that are listening, but that was like a pivotal moment of like my relationship with the Lord, was that moment right there. Because then like it keeps happening. Like, I will ask for things and it just happens. And
it was really weird. People who were like, we were literally walking down like a beachfront, and we were like, we haven't seen any whales yet. We'd been there for like 4 days.
Yep.
And Holly's just like, I'm going to ask God for a whale. And then she does. And then all of a sudden we look out and there's a whale right there. And we're like, what? Excuse me?
Yeah. And then remember
Excuse me?
Remember I did it again with the rhinoceros in the park.
Yeah, at the animal reserve. We didn't see any rhinos. And then she said, God, please give us a rhino. And there it was.
And there it came. So now I use the phrase, like the whale. Oh, anyways. Now I use...
Cut that out.
No, you should keep it.
I'll keep it, don't worry.
Oh my gosh. Anyways. So now I use this phrase, like, pray for your whale. Like, I'm gonna pray for my whale. And, like, the whale can be anything. But, like, even last night, I was sitting and I was having, like, a mental block. And I needed to write this thing and I couldn't do it. And I was like, God, I need a whale. Like, you need to send me a whale. And I kid you not, 5 minutes later, it was like I had this whole outline in my head ready to go.
The floodgates.
And so it's like, don't be afraid to ask Jesus for things. Like, don't be afraid to ask for your whale, because God is faithful and he always will be, and he will provide. And if you ask for it, he's going to give it to you, or he's going to say not yet. And that's okay. Like, even if he doesn't give you your whale, like, he is going to give you something else that's probably better than what you're asking for.
Maybe it's like an otter.
Yeah, or like a frog or an elephant.
Or a frog. No, frog. What? How is a frog better than a whale?
I don't know. Maybe like a poison dart frog, so then you can, like...
Oh, yeah.
Put it on
can
your
be your
arrow.
attack friend.
My attack frog. Mm-hmm.
Oh, my gosh. Who needs German Shepherds?
Anyways.
I have an army of poison dart frogs.
Exactly.
That would be terrifying. Can you imagine?
That sounds like
a
a
horde
plague
of frogs just rushing you? Oh, my gosh.
It sounds like a plague gone wrong in Egypt.
It does. Wait, they had frogs. Maybe they were poisoned.
Oh,
Anyways, we're going way off topic.
Oh,
Welcome to Holli and I's conversations in real life.
This is real life, guys. Welcome. But all that to say, I think an important thing, which I think we might talk about later, I don't know, but one of the most important things that we need to remember through all of this is that you need to remember the things that the Lord has already done for you, and not your situational circumstances. Because I think the one thing that has really gotten me through all of this and this life change and moving to Nashville and, like, not going back to Africa and all of this stuff is, like, just remembering how faithful the Lord really has been for me, and how he has lined up perfectly all of these things to put me in the family I'm living with now, who love and care for me so much, and how they have been, like, my second family for, like, almost 13 years now. And, like, if it wasn't for the fact that, like, I met them in Columbus 13 years ago, like, so many things leading up to right now would not be the same. And so it's very cool to see how the Lord has been faithful to me over all of these years, knowing that I would need them now, and putting them in my life 13 years later, even though now we're in a completely different state, a completely different environment. And I just think it's so important to remember what the Lord has done for you. I mean, he tells the Israelites to do that, like in Deuteronomy a couple times, and I'm pretty sure in Leviticus, he's like, you need to remember all of these things that I've done for you. And because they're, like, wandering in the desert for forever. And so he's like, I'm still faithful. I'm still your God. I'm still going to provide. I'm still going to do all of these things because I've done them before, and I'm not going to stop doing them now. And so he talks about it a lot in the Old Testament, just like we talked about before. Read the Old Testament. It's really good. And so yeah, that's what I have to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really good. I think what I have learned is similar to that, which is really just, like, the value of, like, slowing down, I think, in appreciating, like, the present. Hold on. I'm looking up something really fast.
Okay. I'm ready.
Kung Fu Panda.
What?
Hold on. Hold on. Yeah. Kung Fu Panda. You've seen Kung Fu Panda, right?
Yes, I've seen it.
And the old turtle, Master Oogway.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And he makes that statement in the middle of the movie. He says, "Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That is why it's called the present." And I've always thought that was like too deep to be in a kids movie. Because I think in the world that we live in today, it's such a fast-paced, like what's next type of thing. And I feel like especially with social media, like we're so focused on like this idea of our beautiful future, quote unquote beautiful future, that we're going to get to someday. And it's always like we want the next best thing. And I don't think we ever take time to just like slow down and like figure out what we have now that we can be grateful for, I guess.
Yeah.
And then the other side of that is that I feel like I have a bad habit of doing this is like things will come up, like bad things that I should like deal with, but I'll like push them to the side because I'm busy. And we keep having this excuse of like, oh, we don't have time, we're too busy, whatever, like to be in the word or whatever. But the reality is, I mean, I've talked to multiple people, and even during COVID, like when we're all quarantined, stuck inside, there's stuff that we have been saying like, oh, I'd do that if I had time. And then we all had all the time in the world, and we still didn't do those things.
Yep.
And so I think that it's really important to not get caught up in the fast-paced world that we live in. And I mean, like you said, it's a challenge to be still like God has called us to do. And I feel like we stress the importance of like being in the word and being in prayer and stuff, but we don't like ever talk about the position you need to put yourself in when you're like doing those things. And like you said earlier, like we have to be in a position to receive and not to just get our quiet time done for the day. Because it doesn't do anything if you're just like, okay, for these 30 minutes, I'm going to be in the word. And then when those 30 minutes are up, I need to go do this and this and this for the rest of the day because those things are more important. We can't expect God to speak to us on our terms, in our timing. And I just feel like I feel like I get burnt out very easily, especially like when things are going and going and going. I feel like I need a break a lot. And what I've just kind of realized is that being in God's presence is that break. In your presence there's fullness of joy. We should be striving for that, and every morning we should, or every day, it doesn't matter if it's in the morning, but we should hit that refresh by being in the word and being in prayer and just spending time in God's presence, and not being concerned of how long that is or what else you need to do during the day or whatever it is. I think if we truly did that, we'd probably never need to go on vacations because we would get that refresher every single day being in God's presence.
Yeah.
And I just don't think we think about that. I think we get focused on just the world, which, I mean, I was talking to somebody about this yesterday. I said, do you think it was harder to be a follower of God like back in the Bible days, or is it harder today? And we talked about it a bit, and we came to the conclusion that it's harder to do it today. Now, I'm not talking about like persecution and stuff that happened in the Bible days. I'm purely talking about like belief and faith in God. And we came to the conclusion that it's harder today because of just all the things that are pulling us in different directions.
Oh, yeah.
And how like the world just stuffs everything but God down our throats just constantly. And we have to be so careful not to get caught in that. And I have a thing that I've started saying that I think I got from Francis Chan, to like, don't get caught up in the transient, in the sense of like all these things are temporary, and we have to think about what actually matters, and that's the eternal. And I have here on a sticky note to have our next podcast on how to have an eternal focus. And it's because that's just such an important thing. Like if you're going day to day and you're only focusing on like what the temporary is and what this world has to offer, then yeah, you're never going to want to sit down and spend time with God, because to you, that doesn't have any monetary value at the moment. But if we focus on the eternal and what's going to last forever, we're going to be motivated to sit down and spend time with God, because we know that that's what's truly important. And so, yeah, I guess that's just been really on my heart through this time, because I felt like there was just so many things that I was putting off and like not dealing with. And just every morning I'd just get up and be like, oh, well, I'll deal with that tomorrow because I have to do this and this and this. But that's like no way to live. And I don't think that's how God calls us to live. I think he wants us to spend time in his presence and figure out the things that we need to figure out so that we can effectively do his work. And we shouldn't constantly feel like we're burnt out. That's not how it's supposed to be. So yeah, I would just encourage everyone to just practice being still and practice slowing down and just trying to spend time in God's presence. Because I don't think there's anything more important that we can learn to do. So.
And let me say that, because I do this, and I think Zach does this too, is that my quiet time, I spend my quiet time in the morning, like very early. I try to get up I get up usually before the sun, and
I can't.
But I do. Well, your sun is a little bit different than. True. I love the stillness and the quietness in the morning when no one else is up. Sometimes Emma gets up and does quiet time with me, but there is something about starting your day with Jesus that is unlike anything else. And I know there are people in the world that are not morning people like I am, and that's fair. But if you are even a little bit of a morning person, I encourage you to start your day in the Word. And even if like you don't have a Bible or something, like start your day on your knees praying. Like a lot of times Emma and I will get up and we will be literally on our knees and just praying and being like, all right, God, like what do you have in store for me today? And just like start your day that way, because if you're starting your day focused on Jesus, then the rest of your day is usually going to go a little bit better as if you were not starting your day with Jesus. And so I would just encourage you to try to do your quiet time in the morning and see if that helps. See if it helps like the way that you tackle your day, because I can almost guarantee that it will. I know a difference in myself when I don't have quiet time in the mornings. Like there is a difference, and everyone around me knows it. And it's funny because Emma and Gracie will be like we will know when the other person has not had quiet time in the morning or not. And that just like that just proves like when you start your day and your eyes are on Jesus and not on anything else, like it will affect the rest of your day. And we heard this sermon a couple weeks ago that said like your relationship with the Lord doesn't just affect you, it also affects everyone around you. And I truly believe that like your quiet time really has play in that, because if you're not starting your day, or if you're not focusing on the Lord, then your relationships with other people are going to be broken as well. And so quiet time is so important. And even when you don't want to do it, you still need to do it, because I remember I think it was Jill, compared our relationship with the Lord with like a marriage relationship. Like you have to choose, even when it's hard, even when you don't want to do it, like you still have to choose that person, because that's who you're married to. And your relationship with the Lord is very similar. Like you have to choose. It's not going to be easy all the time. It's not going to be rainbows and butterflies. In fact, the Lord promises us that a life with Jesus is going to suck and be really difficult. And he says it in the New Testament over and over again, like this life is going to be hard, but I am so good and you have so many things, like so many good things planned for your future, the Lord has. And so it's going to be difficult, but you have to choose to spend that time. And the rewards and the outcome of that is going to be so great. You just have to get through the bumpiness of relationships. And all relationships are that way. And so the relationship with the Lord is going to be the same. And you just have to work on it. You have to choose him.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Full stop. Period.
Period.
I think if we go to the idea of hitting the spiritual reset button, kind of taking a refresher spiritually, I have a few things down here that I would suggest everyone to do. And this past weekend, the church that I went to, the pastor was talking about taking stock of your life. And I think that's a really good image because, like I said before, we live in such a fast-going world that we don't stop and take stock of what's happening and what's going well, what's going not well. And so I would encourage everyone to just kind of sit down as we go into some form of normal life, and just ask yourself, what do I need to deal with before I jump back into everything? Whether it's sin, whether it's your relationship with God, if that's not going well, whether it's broken relationships with other people, like what is going well in your life and what is not, and how can you improve the bad things and compound on the good things? Because I don't think we should go into this normal, having all this time to kind of think and ponder about our lives and go back into normal, like not having changed anything. I think that's like in James where it talks about a man looking in the mirror and seeing something's wrong and then walking away and never thinking about it again. Like that just doesn't make sense. And so I would just encourage everybody, and I think Holli would agree, to just kind of take stock of your life and think about what you need to improve on and what relationships you maybe need to fix, who you need to reconcile with, what do you need to get back to. And I love when Paul is talking to the Ephesians, when he's saying that they are losing their first love, and to regain that, they need to go back to what they did at first. And I think that's such a good picture, because our relationships over time, they degrade, we get lazy, we do whatever. But we need to take time to go back to what we did at the beginning and go back to our first love, which is Christ, and really go back and fix that relationship before we try to do anything else. I think, Holli, you would agree with that.
I agree. It's funny that you said that, the first love, that Paul said, because I was thinking about in Revelation when he calls out, when God talks to the church in Ephesus and says the same thing. And
never mind. I think that was what I was thinking of.
Oh, I'm sure Paul
I don't
talks
think
about
it's
it
in
somewhere.
Ephesians. Anyways,
Jesus
it's
says
in Revelation.
in Revelation to his letter to the church of Ephesus, and he's saying all these good things, and he's like, but then I have this against you, and he's like, you forgot, and so yeah, I agree with what you said.
Yeah, I think we do that very often, is we forget, and things become common to us, and it's like you said, remembering what God has done for you, like in the past. And if you look at Israel, like in the Old Testament, the number one thing they sucked at was remembering what God has done for them.
Yep.
And we need to be careful that we don't do the same, because we fall into a place of just complacency and not loving God for what he's done, because it's kind of like, oh, well, what have you done for me lately? And that's just not a good relationship to have with anybody, let alone God.
Right.
So,
yeah. Well, I think the other thing too, just to add real quick, is this is something I've done a lot, is because you were talking about a second ago about how we need to like look in the mirror and just evaluate like things that we need to change. And a lot of times I have found that like I don't know. And so I have been asking like the Lord, saying, okay, I know that I have some character flaws and I know I have things I need to work on, but I don't know all of them. So I need you to show me. And he will that will come out. Like the ugliness of being a human will come out. And, but that's just the whole molding process that Jesus is going to put you through to make you a better person in the long run. And it's going to hurt. It's going to be painful. And you do have to be careful what you ask for, because the Lord will answer your prayer if you ask for a character change. And that is what I have been dealing with over the past few months, is like, okay, God, I know this, and this in my life is not good. I need you to work on it. And oh man, has he brought things out. And so... But it's good. Like, I am a different person because of it. And so you need to ask for these things if you truly want a change of heart and a change of your attitude or your person, your character. Ask for it, because he will give it to you, because that's what he wants. He wants to change you. He wants to infiltrate your heart and make you a new person. And but you need to ask, and also be in a posture of receiving what he has for you. And it's probably going to hurt. It's probably going to be painful, but in the long run, it's going to be great. So.
And if you're really serious about wanting to figure out what you need to change, ask people around you that you trust. And
don't just ask some random person.
Don't ask random people, but people that you trust, people that are around you a lot. They'll tell you if you really ask them.
They will.
We have a very biased view of ourselves, and so we can't always see all the things that, even if we're honest with ourselves, we can't always see all the things that we need to change. So get some people in your life that you trust and that can speak into your life, and help you in your relationship with God and with others and with yourself. So yeah, I think that's all. Do you have anything else to add?
Nope. That was good.
Cool. That was good.
I
think this is really important. And this is something you can go do right now. And we encourage you to do so. Because once things start getting crazy again, we're going to fall right back into the trap of not thinking about these things and not taking an inventory on our relationships and all that stuff. So, Holli, thank you again for being in another episode.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. Hopefully I can come back again.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you and I are going to do any more, but we'll definitely have you back again. But we'll have to talk about that after this episode's over.
Yay.
So, yeah. Anyways, we will see you guys. If you guys have any questions, as always, message us, get a hold of us somehow. We'd love to talk to you about this and about anything else you want to talk about. Hopefully Bible related, but we'll talk anything, especially if it's Star Wars. We'll talk about Star Wars if you want.
And Marvel.
Yeah, and Marvel stuff.
And anything Black Widow, I am your person.
Oh gosh, okay. Except it got delayed another year.
So. I don't want to talk about it. I'm going to cry.
Anyways, we will see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in, and yeah, peace out.
Bye, friends.